let's now move on to discuss the common framework of the ISO standards. This is particularly handy if your company deals with multiple ISO standards, as it brings a welcome sense of order. To make life easier and improve compatibility amongst its many management system standards, ISO introduced a common framework back in 2012. This framework, which is formally defined in a document called Annex SL of the ISO/IEC directive, applies to all new ISO management system standards and any revisions of existing one, which by now almost all of them have adopted this common framework. It is built on three core elements: a high-level structure, often called HLS, common core text for many requirements, and common terminology and definitions. The main goals here are to standardize how standards themselves are developed and to make it much easier for organizations to use different standards together, which is a huge plus if you're trying to build an integrated management system. For example, combining your quality, ISO 9001, and environmental, ISO 14001 systems. The goals and benefits of this common framework are pretty significant. It allows users like yourself to adapt more easily when new standards or revisions are published, because you'll already be familiar with the basic structure and much of the core language. As mentioned, establishing and implementing integrated management system becomes simpler due to this common structure and share requirements. Imagine trying to combine two different Lego sets. It's much easier if they use compatible bricks, right? The auditing process also benefits, especially for organizations certified to several standards. Audits of common elements can be streamlined, and overall audit planning can be more efficient. It also promotes more standardized ways of evaluating performance across different systems and ultimately creates more opportunities for improvement. The first element of this common framework is the high-level structure, or HLS. This simply means that all ISO management system standards now share the same 10-clause structure. The clause numbers, the titles of the clauses, and their sequence are identical. These 10 clauses are 1. Scope, 2. Normative references, 3. Terms and definitions, then the core auditable clauses, which are 4. Context of the organization, 5. Leadership, 6. Planning, 7. Support, 8. Operation, 9. Performance evaluation, and 10. Improvement. Once you know this structure for one standard, you largely know it for all the other standards. These next two slides visually show this high-level structure across several common ISO standards, and even some others that have adopted a similar structure, like ISO 9001 Quality, ISO 14001 Environmental, ISO 45001 Health and Safety, ISO 27001 Information Security, AS 9100 Aerospace, and ISO 22000 Food Safety. You can clearly see those consistent main clause headings: context, leadership, planning, and so on. Running from clause 4 through clause 10, it brings a nice predictable pattern to the world of standards. The second element of the common framework is common text. This is a big one. Within those core auditable clauses, 4 through 10, and their subclauses, there is identical core text for many of these requirements. This means that large chunks of the wording in these clauses are exactly the same across different management system standards. So if you understand a requirement in an ISO 9001, for example, you likely find very similar, if not identical wording for that same core concept in ISO 14001 or ISO 27001. These slides give you some example of the common text within a specific clauses. Slide 38, for example, in clause 4, context of the organization, subclauses like 4.1, understanding the organization and its context, and 4.2, understanding the needs and expectations of interested parties, have common core text. Where you see XXX management system, the XXX is simply replaced by a specific discipline. For example, quality management system or environmental management system. Similarly, in clause 5, leadership, subclause 5.1, leadership and commitment, has common text outlining top management responsibilities. The expectations for leadership are pretty consistent no matter the standard. In clause 6, planning, while there is common text for requirements like actions to address risk and opportunities and setting objectives, this is also a key clause where discipline-specific requirements are often added. For example, ISO 14001 will have specific requirements here about identifying environmental aspects. Clause 7, support, has a lot of common text, covering areas like resource competence, awareness, communication, and documented information. All the essential support functions you might manage through various WebQMS modules. Clause A, operation, particularly 8.1 operational planning and control, has some common text, but this is another major clause where many discipline-specific requirements are added. For example, ISO 9001 will have detailed requirements here about product realization processes. Clause 9, performance evaluation, includes common text for crucial activities like monitoring, measuring, analysis, and evaluation, conducting internal audits, and performing management reviews. Again, think about how your internal audit or your management review apps in WebQMS help you meet these common requirements. And finally, clause 10, improvement, has common text for handling nonconformities and taking corrective action and for driving continual improvement. The drive to get better is a universal theme. The third element of the common framework is common terminology and definitions. Annex SL provides a set of common terms and core definitions that are to be used across all ISO management system standards. This helps ensure that when a term like risk, audit, nonconformity, or corrective action is used, it means the same regardless of which standard you are reading. This consistency in language is incredibly helpful for avoiding confusion and ensuring everyone is speaking the same standards language. So what does this common framework not cover? While Annex SL standardizes the high-level structure and core text, it does not define discipline-specific requirements. For example, it doesn't detail the specific technical requirements for environmental management that is in ISO 14001, or for information security control that is in ISO 27001. The individual technical committees responsible for each standard still add these discipline-specific requirements into the common framework, primarily in clauses 6, 7, and 8, sometimes 9 and 10. So you get the best of both worlds, a common foundation and tailored specific for each discipline.